Hello everyone. So this is the second quarter or the start of the second quarter, and this will be our first topic for module 2, which will be which will focus more on your volcano hazards. Okay, so for this topic, our objectives are: first, we will be differentiating the different types of volcanic hazards in a tabular comparison with the help of your FIVOLCS hazard map. So the hazard map will be tackled more on the use of the geoanalytics and your hazard hunter. Next is we will be citing ways on what interventions should students do before, during, and after a volcanic eruption or volcano hazard. And then we will be trying to design a creative leaflet project per B groups to allow massive information dissemination on volcano hazard preparation in a community. So ang aton himuon day is that we will be creating an infographic with a leaflet or a brochure type of presentation, and later on after the discussion of the topic, I will present to you the mechanics and the guidelines on how to create your creative leaflet project. Okay, now let's have first deactivate. So guessing the alert levels or the alert levels of a volcanic eruption. So here is a short video clip on the reports on how the FIVOLCS present the alert levels in a newscast.
Samantala, may 6 na alert levels po ang bulkang Mayon. Alert level 0 kapag normal ang galaw ng bulkan. Alert level 1 naman kapag nakitaan ito ng abnormalidad gaya po ng mga pagyanig sa paligid ng bulkan at bahagyang paliwanag o pagliwanag sa crater nito. Posible rin po ang phreatic explosion o ash puffs. Kapag patuloy pa rin po ang naitatalang abnormalidad at may naitatala ng pamamaga ng bulkan, itinataas na po ang alert level 2. Itinataas naman ang alert level 3 kapag napapadalas na po yung mga volcanic quake na tinatawag at mga rockfall sa summit. Napapanatili rin ang crater glow at patuloy na pamamaga ng bulkan. Sa ngayon, nakataas po ang alert level 4 o ang tinatawag na hazardous eruption imminent. Ibig sabihin yan, nagbabadya na po ang mapanganib na pagsabog ng bulkan. Tuloy-tuloy rin po ang mga naitatalang pagyanig sa paligid nito. Matindi na rin ang nakikitang crater glow at ang pagliwanag ng lava dome. Nagbubuga na rin po ng lava fountain at patuloy ang lava flow mula po sa bunganga ng bulkan. Iniaakyat naman sa pinakamataas na alert level 5 ang bulkan oras na sumabog na ito at patuloy pa rin ang pagluwa ng pyroclastic flows at ng matinding ashfall.
Okay, so that was an example of the presentation of alert levels based on the characteristics or features that a volcano is experiencing or presenting to or during the eruption itself. So if you can still remember, let me ask you this question. Okay. So how many volcanic alert levels were presented in the video presentation? So let me know on the comment box later if how many alert levels and how these alert levels differ from each other. Okay? So now let's tackle the concept of your volcano hazards. But before that, let's try to engage first on the details of or informations regarding volcanoes. So Philippines, or our country, is of course located in the Pacific Ring of Fire, in which most of the volcanoes or the presence of volcanoes can be seen underwater and above the crust itself. So as you can see in the map over here, the location of Philippines, we are greatly surrounded by the presence of volcanoes, most or outnumbered by the underwater volcanoes itself. So that is why we are threatened by the possibility of the big one or the biggest earthquake that might occur if volcanoes underwater will kumbaga magdungan siya in having their volcanic eruptions. So this one here is your Pacific Ring of Fire. Okay. Now let's have the volcano. Of course, we all know what volcano is. So volcanoes, or your volcanoes, or volcano is a vent, hill, or mountain from which molten or hot rocks with gaseous material have been ejected. So also craters, depressions, hills, or mountains formed by removal of the pre-existing material. So if pressure or increase in the pressure, especially in the presence of magma during your movement of plates, there is a increase in the temperature that might uh, contribute to the increasing pressure that will eject all the magma, the lava, or even stones outside the volcanic crater. Okay? So, of course, let's try to recall some of the most basic parts of your volcano. So, of course, we have the mouth called your crater. So, mouth of a volcano which surrounds the volcanic vent. Next is we have your main vent, or the main passageway or the passage of your magma from the magma chamber up to the volcanic crater. Next, we also have your side vents. So as you can see in your main vent, there are extensions from the main vent. That is what we call your side vent, especially if the pressure from the magma tends to, kumbaga, mag-increase ang pressure niya. So, much pressure felt during the expulsion of your magma may create fissures or cracks on the sides of your vent or your main vent itself. So that will be the possibility of forming your side vents. That is why kung kisano, we can see that magmas or lavas may also expel on the sides of the volcano, not literally much on the crater itself. Okay? Next is we have your lava layer. So your lava layer is the layer of volcanic rock formed by the cool lava. So as you can see, the outermost portion of your volcano is made up of your lava layer. Kumbaga nagbugnaw na siya nga lava. That is why there is a black appearance or dark appearance itself. And also we have the ash layer, or the ash and lava form the layers that shape the volcano over time. So the sides itself are made up of your ash layer. So kung sige nga bulto ang imo nga or ulupok ang imo nga bulkan, naga-form ang imo nga volcano over time. Okay? Next, we also have the magma chamber. So let me go back on the slides as well. Okay, so the main portion here on the lower portion in which magma is accumulated before rising to the surface is called your magma chamber. Okay, we also have your sill. So sill is the layer of magma that has solidified between the layers of the Earth's crust. So as you can see over here on the lower portion, once the magma has increased pressure, there is a possibility that it may create fissures on the magma chamber itself kag dira siya magadasok or fit in. So there is the deformation also, or the intrusion of your magma in which it will be called as your sill. Next, we have your laccolith. So laccolith. Laccolith is a mass of magma that enters the Earth's crust and then solidifies, causing a deformation on the surface. So remember, once if it stucks on the side, it is already called as sill. But if there is a deformation or nag-ulbo siya, and there is a, kumbaga, a mountainous o kumbaga nagbuklod siya nga formation, that will be called now as your laccolith. Okay? So, like this one in the picture, there is a deformation. Nag-ulbo siya. Okay? Next is, we have your fumarole. So, from the word fumes, in which there is a regular emission of gas from a fissure. Meaning, sa tamaan bala ka pressure, sang magma, sa dalom sang aton nga duta, there is a possibility that there will be a crack formation or your fissure, and then fumes or your gases will be emitted through that certain crack or hole, and that will be called as your fumarole. Okay? Next is we have your geyser. So geyser are your hot water spring that ejects sporadic jets of water and vapor. So especially if ang inmo lang nga cell or the cell is extended to a bodies of water, that also helps with the bursting uh, motion or the sudden heat balasang tubig sa taman kainit magapiswit dira sa crack or buho. So remember, in your fumarole, most of the emitted substance is your gas. In your geyser, most of the emitted substance there are liquid or a spray or fountain of water. Yan. And also, we have your ash cloud. Of course, we all know what ash cloud is. It is the cloud formed during your volcanic eruptions or your explosions. Okay, so those are the parts of your volcano. Now let's proceed with the types of your volcanoes. So I know this is just some of the review of the concepts that you had during your earth science or maybe on your basic education years during your junior high or elementary days. So we have here the four types of your volcanoes. So we have first your cinder cone. Second, we have your composite volcanoes. We have your shield volcanoes and your lava domes. Now let's have first your cinder cone. So as you can see, the first picture is your cinder cone. So these are your circular or oval cones built from the erupting lava that breaks into small pieces as it shoots into the air. So as you can see, it has a perfect triangular shape with a circular or an oval shape crater. Okay. Next is we have your composite volcanoes or your stratovolcano. So these are your steep-sided volcanoes composed of many layers of volcanic rocks. So usually made from thick, sticky lava, ash, and rock debris. So usually the feature is tall and thin structure. So as you can see in the picture, we have your composite or your stratovolcano. For example, your Mount Mayon is an example of your stratovolcano. Yan. Next is, we have your shield volcano. Tandaan ta lang or always remember that when we talk about shield volcanoes, usually it is flat. Mga kaibigan yung flat. Ayan. So, shield volcanoes are shaped like a bowl or shield in the middle with long, gentle slopes made by your lava flows. Okay? And lastly, we have also your lava domes. Sir, what differs your lava domes to other types of the volcanic landforms? Usually, lava domes are formed when erupting lava is too thick to flow and makes a steep side mound as the lava piles up. So, meaning, from the word itself, dome, naga-expand siya. There is an expansion of your sides of the volcano. So, usually, it looks like a fat volcano. Tambok siya in nature, especially if it is stretched out by a sticky lava. So lava domes may collapse if there is too much pressure coming out from the magma chamber expulsion or expelling your lavas itself. So it can stretch out and collapse as well. So again, these are your types of volcanic landforms. We have your cinder cone, your composite or your stratovolcanoes, we have your shield volcanoes, and your lava domes. Now let's proceed with the next. So the classifications of your volcano. So we have already heard the three types of your classifications. We have active, we have the potentially active, and we have your inactive ones. So what differs the active from other classifications? Of course, when we talk about active, these are your volcanoes that have erupted within the historical times and has been documented by man that it has erupted within the last 10,000 years. So meaning may chance gid siya nga lupok, maglupok. It's because it is active. For example, we have your Mount Pinatubo, your Mount Mayon, your Mount Canlaon. They are examples of your active volcanoes. Next is we have your potentially active or also known as your dormant. So these are your morphologically young looking but with no historical records of eruption. So the question here is, sir, does dormant or your potentially active volcanoes capable of exploding? Yes, especially if there is an increase in the pressure in the magma chamber. So sige na siya nga bulwak da niya nga lava, possible nga lupok pa siya. Okay? And then, also, we have your inactive or also known as your extinct volcano. So this kind of volcano has no recorded eruptions and physical form has been intensively weathered or eroded, bearing deep and long gullies. If we talk about deep and long gullies, gullies are those that are the curvature or the shapes that sided the volcano. So as you can see, ang aton na nga inactive volcanoes or the extinct volcanoes, usually may nagagurod-gurod na siya sa kilid niya. And then mostly covered by vegetation or may mga tanom na nadanga-dana nagkakabuhi. So, capable mabuhi ang mga tanom dira kay wala presence of volcano, of lava itself rather. Okay. Okay. So again, we have your active, potentially active, or your dormant, and we have your inactive or also known as your extinct. Okay? So that is this is the physical feature of the different classifications of volcano. So as you can see, the active volcano has a more active presence of lava compared with your dormant, which has slowly filling presence of lava in the magma chamber, and it has still a possibility of exploding. And then we also have your extinct, in which there is an active magma chamber. So usually, there is a plug or presence of corroded lands within the volcano, especially if it is extinct or inactive. Okay? Now, let's proceed with the next. So that doesn't mean nga if a volcanic eruption occurs, that is the hazard itself, the volcanic eruption. But basically, we have different types of your volcanic hazards. They are lava flows, your volcanic gases, they can be your pyroclastic flows, they can be your TEPHRA falls and ballistic projection or your ballistic projectile, and we also have your Lahars. Ayan. So we will try to discuss these volcanic hazards one by one. Okay? First, let's have your lava or your magma or your lava flows. So lava flows are the product of the effusion of molten rocks or magma from beneath a volcano. So usually it has the temperature of 700 to 1200 degrees Celsius. So as you can see in the GIF, that is your lava. So it travels very slow. So it can be prevented because it travels slowly, especially if the eruption is, kumbaga, slow in nature. And then there is seldom cause death, yet harmful for property and your environment. It's because it travels very slow. It can be prevented as well, especially if the flows are too slow in progressing or the progression is too slow. Okay. Next. So we have different types of your lava flows. So ayan in the GIF, you can see that is an example of a slow traveling lava flow. Okay. So lava flows can be categorized in different types. So first, let's have your basaltic, or from the word itself, basalt, or your basalt rocks. So basaltic lava flows or basaltic lava flows are the lava with the least amount of silicon. So 52% and below. So remember lang natin class, if the silicon content is lesser, chances are the concentration is, kumbaga, hindi siya sticky. Okay? So this is more liquid. Doka-liquid di siya in form. So it has a relatively low viscosity. Hindi siya lapuyot. It's not sticky. And then it is also considered as the fastest flowing lava, commonly expelled from your shield volcanoes. So as you can still remember, your shield volcanoes are your flat volcanoes. So usually maglupok siya, ang iya ejection is kumbaga do ginapagwa ilang do ginaluad niya lang ang imo nga basaltic lava. Okay? So your basaltic lava flow can be categorized into two. First, let's have your pahowi-howi or your pahoho or your pahowi-howi in other sources or dictionaries. So we have your smooth, unbroken lava. Remember, si pahowi-howi is your friend niya smooth and unbroken. Ayan. So, smooth continuous surface features rocky folds with a flow thin and size. So, kung makita nyo ni siya, usually the image or the picture of your pahowi-howi is smooth. Doon nagabalod-balod lang siya. Okay? So, the top surface of this lava fold onto each other as the lava beneath flows rapidly. So, later on, I will have an example of this one. Next is we have your AA flow. It's not AA, ha? It's AA flow. So, your AA flow differs from your pahowi-howi because of its feature, which is a stony, rough lava. Okay? That is why, in your AA flow, siya ang friend mo nga wasag because of its rough, stony feature. Okay? So it has a discontinuous flow in a fragmented surface. So it occasionally bursts and then streams out of volcanoes rapidly. Remember, dasig ni sila nga duwa, it's because of the less viscosity on its features. So here are an image or images of the two types of your basaltic lava flow. So as you can see on the upper right portion, ng aring sa babaw, this is an example of your pahowi-howi. Smooth. Okay? Continuous flow. Okay? Siya yung kaibigang mong smooth. Hindi siya wasag. Okay? And also, we have your AA flow. So, as you can see on the lower portion, this is an example of your AA flow or your AA basaltic flow. Again, the feature of your AA flow is rough, stony or stony rough lava. Garas, wasag. Okay? So again, we have two types of your basaltic lava flow. We have your pahowi-howi and your AA flow. Okay. Next, we also have the second classification of your lava flow, which is your andesitic. So, it came from the word andesite. Kung kisabala sa mga bato, we have your andesite rocks. Usually, it contains your silicon with 52 to 63% of the silicon content. So, medyo lapuyot siya or viscous compared with your basaltic lava flow. So, it has a higher viscosity than your basaltic lava flow and commonly produces your lava domes as andesitic lava is forced. What does that mean? Can you still remember a while ago when I mentioned about lava domes? So, di ba, lava domes may collapse if the lava itself or the magma itself is sticky enough or viscous enough to expand the lava dome and make it collapse. So, that is why in your andesitic, sa amo pala na nga percentage niya, 52 to 63% of viscosity or the presence of the silicon, chances are it may collapse your lava dome. Okay? So, andesitic lava is forced and then usually present in your lava domes. Okay? So, typically originates from a stratovolcano. And last, we have your rhyolitic lava flow or rhyolite. Kumbaga, your rhyolite stones na ginatawag. So, it has the highest viscosity of all the lava flows, 68% and above silicon content. So, the more viscous, the more pressure needed to expel that certain lava. So, chances are, magwa ni siya nagalupok gid. Okay? Do parehas na siya sa mucus or same with your mucus when you have colds, it is difficult to expel that much if it is viscous. Okay? So it is slower than your andesitic and your basaltic lava flows and tends to ooze from your erupting stratovolcanoes, usually after your pyroclastic flows. Your pyroclastic flows are your gases with a mixture or emulsions of oils and liquid. So later on, we will discuss that one. Okay. Next is we have your sheet flow. So this type of lava flow can be seen underwater. Okay. So from the word itself, sheet. So it's like a sheet or a cover sheet of your beddings in which once it erupts on your underwater volcano, it just forms a rapid to striated formation or wavy appearance of a certain magma. So as you can see on the picture over under the slide, ang sa direho, okay? So as you can see, there is a wavy or rapid striations or formation of a lava. It's because of the sudden or the rapid drying up of the lava. It's because of the presence of water. Okay? And of course, we have your pillow lava. So as you can see, it has your pillow shape or circular in shape. It's because of the cooling of the lava. So once it expels out of your underwater volcanoes, usually it forms an elongation or a circular shape. As you can see on the pictures, so there is in elongated ones, there are also circular ones. So tends to dry up because of the presence of water. Yeah, water. So in your lava flows, how can the people in the community lessen or mitigate the effects of your lava flows? So here, there are methods for controlling the paths of your lava flow. So paano na siya sir naton mapunggan ang lava nga nagatubod sa volcano? So people may have the construction of the barriers and the diversional channels. So as you can see in some movies, I don't know if you have watched the volcano movie. It's an old movie, I guess, in which people in the community tend to dig. Inakutkutan nila ang sides ng volcano kay para dira lang ida mag-ilig. So they try to divert the passage of your lava flows instead of flowing it in the community, naging paliko to nila, ginkot-kotan nila. Okay? We also have your cool advancing front with water. So as you can see in the picture, pwede na siya nga basun sang tubig kay para magmalada yun. Okay? So water can be used to bombard the flowing lavas and to make it dry or to dry it up. Okay? We also have the disruption of the source or advancing front of lava flow by explosive. In some instances, if the lavas or the lava flows are great enough in number, so usually nagasend na sila explosives or airdrops of your explosions para palukpon ang presence of that magma in that certain area. Okay? Next is we have your excuse me, your volcanic gases. Of course, these are the gases expelled during the volcanic eruption. So the principal volcanic gases are water vapor, hydrogen sulfide, and all the stuff present in your volcano. So these are your volcanic gases. And let's try now to differentiate the different gases present in your volcano. First, let's have your carbon dioxide. So usually it is your colorless to odorless gas. And then its effect is your simple asphyxiant. When we talk about asphyxiant or asphyxia, there is a difficulty of breathing or hard or labored breathing because of the presence of a certain chemical. So usually, kung nabudlayan ka maginhawa, if you have difficulty of breathing, usually, less presence of oxygen will make you feel headache, dizziness, and shortness of breath, and other stuffs that are listed on the graph or in the table itself. Next is we have your carbon monoxide. So usually, your carbon monoxide is similar with your carbon dioxide, which is colorless in nature. But then remember that too much of your carbon monoxide may help or may lead to a collapse or fainting on exertion. So that is why kung kisabala, if we try to travel, sa isa ka community tapos do natamaan tabala inhale ang mga sa tambutso or sa salakyan matsyag yung kis ado gina lingin-lingin ang ulo mo or sometimes may lead to fainting. It's because of that effect of that certain gas which is your carbon monoxide. Next is we have your sulfur dioxide. This is your colorless gas or liquid with pungent odor. When we talk about pungent odor, there is a nasty smell or a strong nasty smell in which it is present for those components with the sulfur component. Okay? So remember, in your sulfur dioxide, we have your conjunctivitis, the redness of the eyes. It's because of the presence of sulfur in it. Okay? We also have your hydrogen sulfide, colorless, flammable gas with an offensive odor. Remember, it has your sulfur. So medyo lang to siya, offensive odor, strong and pungent odor. So usually, it is an asphyxiant as well and your respiratory tract irritants. So in some cases, especially with inhalation of toxic chemicals, in hospitals, we can see some redness or sometimes it may form blisters or like ano bala ang singaw sa imo nga nasal lining if too much inhalation of those toxic chemicals also. Next is your sulfuric acid. Okay. Sulfuric acid. So again, it has your sulfur content. So it is a pungent. Okay. However, in the description, as you can see, it is oily liquid. So it's kind of having that emulsion or emulsified or with the presence of oily or liquid substance when felt by our skin. So medyo basa siya. And then, the danger for this one is it can have your severe burns with rapid tissue destruction. So, ang kakatabo da is there is corrosion. Para balang dugin paso ka, dugin nabuuan ka sang asido na. That is your sulfuric acid. The most dangerous one effect of your sulfuric acid is it can corrode your skin and may have the presence of blisters or may even lead to the kumbaga the presentation of your bones. Kung kis atamaan ka asido, magkalasunog ginaya makitanon pa na kung kis ang tulan gani sang pasyente. Okay, so it is the danger of your sulfuric acid. Next, we have your ammonia. So again, in your ammonia, there is a presence of your pungent colorless gas. Pungent, meaning lang to, strong odor. So it may lead to your eye irritant and your mucous membrane irritation. In your mucous membrane irritation, there is a possibility of redness and formation of blisters. Nagapilas-pilas gid sa sulod. Also, in instances wherein there are persons who were fainted, sa mga nalipong bala, usually, in the hospital setting, we use ammonia or ammonium nitrate or ammonium in which ginabutang na siya naman sa tissue, ginapasimot na siya sa patient, and then usually, nagabugtaw na sila. It's because of that pungent odor present in your ammonia. Okay? Amo na pala sa mga teleserye class, if we try to check bala kung kisa may ginapasimot-simot na sila nga daw, hindi na siya white flower, may arap pa gina isa, that is your ammonia. Okay? Pampabugtaw, gina espiritu. So, in the hospital setting, we called it as your spirit of ammonia. Ayan. Pampagising ng espiritu. Okay? And also, we have your fluorine. Fluorine is good for your bones. Fluoride is good for your bones. However, an increase in the chemical content of your fluoride leading to the formation of your fluorine may cause also your very powerful caustic irritant. May irritate your eyes and skin as well as your bone degradation. Kung fluoride siya, nagapaputi siya unto. Pero kung fluorine na siya ya, pwede na buhuan ng imo unto. There is a bone degradation or the mottling of teeth. Sometimes it may lead to the yellowish discoloration and then degradation. Kutkuton yan ang kutkuton. That is your fluorine. Okay? Next is we have your hydrofluoric acid. So it is your clear, colorless, fuming, corrosive liquid or gas and may result to ulceration of the upper respiratory tract. There is formation of ulcer or blisters once inhaled. And of course, we also have your HCl or your hydrochloric acid. So it is your colorless gas or colorless fuming liquid that may lead to your pulmonary edema and laryngeal spasms. Let me discuss to you pulmonary edema. Sir, what is your pulmonary edema? Maghambal kita edema, nagahubag. There is swelling. So that is why too much inhalation of your chlorine or HCl will lead to the swelling of your lungs. Budlay maginhawa, matsyag mo daw malumos ka. That is your pulmonary edema. It's because of, the swelling of the lungs. And your laryngeal spasms. Your voice box, remember your larynx. If there is spasms, usually ang kakatabo is that there is a uncontrollable contraction. Pwede na siya ma-lock. It's because of the spasms or the movement of your larynx. So there is difficulty of breathing. That is why your HCl or your chlorine is a mucous membrane in the respiratory tract irritant. Okay, so those are your volcanic gases. Okay, now let's proceed with the next, your pyroclastic flows. So these are your gravity-driven, rapidly moving, ground-hugging mixtures of rock fragments and hot gases. Fragrance manakon. Okay, so usually in your pyroclastic flow, these are the mixture of gases plus liquid. There is an emulsion. Okay. So, as you can see there in the description, there is gas particle emulsions. Medyo may liquid siya, presence of liquid. Medyo bugat siya nga gas. Tapos daw, kumbaga daw spray ang iya nga effect. So, your pyroclastic flows can move down the valleys and can move beneath water. It's because of the presence of the liquid component. Pwede siya kalusot dapon sa tubig. And then, your pyroclastic flows can move across your water and extend over mountains. So pyroclastic flows here, class, have three mechanisms. First is we have your Merapi type or your gravitational dome collapse. So as you can see, there is a formation of the dome or the lava formation na nag-ulbugid siya sa imong mountain, imong volcano. That is why once lava is ejected, next is the ejection of your gases. So in your Merapi type, remember, una, gwa si lava and then expels all of your pyroclastic flow or your wet gases. Next is we have your Pelean or your Peli type. So it is also called as your explosive dome collapse. So what happens in your Pelean type or your Peli type is that since there is a sticky lava or a viscous lava, usually it first expels the presence of your pyroclastic flows. So sige nga tubod sa imong pyroclastic flow, amo na dayon ang pag-eject ya sang lava. Okay? So that is the mere difference between the Merapi and Pelean type. So usually for Merapi, lava first, and then for Pelean type, it's the pyroclastic flow first. And lastly, we have your Soufriere type of pyroclastic flow. So usually when this erupts, all of your expulsion will be on the upward direction or the upward thrust of eruption. So it may also be leading upward and then afterwards it may lead to the movement on the sides of the volcano. So delikado ni siya, class, especially if malabutan niya ang tao. It's because it may cause burns or it may even cause death. It's because of the wet acid present in your pyroclastic flow. Now let's try to have the guess what. Even though we are not live, we'll try to ask some questions and we'll try to guess some of these features of a volcanic hazard. Okay? First, what specific type of basaltic lava flow is this one? So remember, it has a smooth physical characteristics. And it has no stones or stony rough formation of a lava. So this one here is called your pahowi-howi lava. Smooth surfaced lava. Okay, smooth, continuous. How about the next? A corrosive volcanic gas that may cause severe burn. So what kind of volcanic gas is this one? Remember, if there is a corrosion or corrosive effect that may lead to burns, masunog ang imo nga panit, this one is your sulfuric acid. So try to study the different volcanic gases as well. Okay? Next, what specific type of pyroclastic flow is this one? So, kagina, we have discussed the three types of your pyroclastic flow. If it is Merapi, usually the lava is, kumbaga, lava first ang nagagawa. In your Pelean, there is the pyroclastic flow first and then the lava. So if it is a Soufriere type, it is a movement of the pyroclastic flow upwards. So as you can see in the GIF, that is an example of your upward thrust or your Soufriere type of your pyroclastic flow. So if you got the 3 correct answers, very good. Yan. Ako na lang mag-clap para sa inyo. Okay. Next. Let's proceed with the TEPHRA falls in your ballistic projection. So what is TEPHRA? So TEPHRA is the volcanic rock and lava materials that are ejected into the air by explosions. So especially if the volcanic eruption or the magma present in your volcano has an increased pressure of ejection, usually pwede yan na mapakang sa imo ang mga bato-bato nga ara dira. Or the presence of stones plus the lava materials. So there is ejection or what we call your TEPHRA. Okay? What differs now your TEPHRA from your pyroclastic flow? Remember, in your pyroclastic flow, there are also rocks or there are also gases. However, your TEPHRA has the capability to skip hug the slope of your mountain, in which if this is your volcano, ang iya effect is that tabog siya. There is a expulsion or mechanism to throw the rocks or the presence of your lavas. In your pyroclastic flow, of course, there is a following of the slope of the volcano. So there is a leaking mechanism. Nagaftubod siya. Okay? And then your TEPHRA, of course, has the range of less than 2 millimeter ashes to more than 1 millimeter in diameter. And then ash can circle the globe if the eruption columns is high enough. Okay, so ang iya nga ash can be mapalid, dasig mapalid ang imong aso sa imong TEPHRA compared with your pyroclastic flow which has the presence of a liquid material or your emulsions. Okay? Sir, what differs your TEPHRA naman from your ballistic projection? Your TEPHRA expels only the rocks and the lavas, or the presence of the components within the volcanoes. In your ballistic projection, there is a special kind of TEPHRA in which it expels cannonballs or even rock boulders itself. So, Arya, pag lupok niya, may dala siya mga bato nga ginapangpakang niya in a certain distance. Okay? So, compared with your TEPHRA and ballistic projection, usually the dangerous one will be your ballistic projection. So, pwede lang na iya nga may maglupad na gulpi nga bato kag napakang ang community. Okay? So, that is your ballistic projection or your ballistic projectile. So, usually, it consists of your bombs or your fresh magma, your blocks of chips, and your lapilli or your rock fragments. So, medyo bato-bato ang ginapakang niya. Okay? And last, we have your lahars. So lahar is an Indonesian term for your volcanic mud flow. So usually its characteristic is like a water flow or a river flow in which it mixes with the rivers or streams. So it is like a wet cement-like mixture of the volcanic material and usually carries eruption materials with pyroclastic flows or your TEPHRA falls, and then also called as your debris avalanche. So usually it mixes with water in the river streams or in the lakes as well. Lahars can be categorized into two based on their concentration and the speed of its flow. So lahars can be considered either turbulent or a laminar ones. So in your turbulent, there is a 20% to 60% of sedimentation, and in your laminar, there is 80% of sedimentation. As you can see, laminar flows are concentrated. Damo siya unod nga mga bato-bato or mga concentrations from the volcano. However, despite of having much of its concentrations, it moves faster compared with your turbulent. Okay? So in the GIF or the GIF and the PowerPoint, as you can see, that is an example of a rapid flow of laminar flow lahar. Okay? So it is dangerous especially if you try to cross the river. It's because there is a presence of hot materials. Basi malapnos lang imo nga panit. Or you may have the burns. Okay? So those are your lahars. Now, how do we know if the volcano is experiencing a certain volcanic alert level? So, kagina, nadumduman nyo to in the first video presentation regarding the news, there are characteristics in each volcanic alert levels. So, again, your volcanic alert levels have 6 levels. 6 ha? It's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Level alert 0 is called your no alert level. So there is a quiet to no eruption occurring in the foreseeable future. So it is level 0. Once there is already your level 1, it is called your abnormal. So low level unrest with no eruption imminent. However, there is already your low level unrest, or if you can see on the seismograph, there are already waves present or movements under your volcanic bases. Next is there is already your increasing unrest or level 2. So moderate unrest probably because of the magmatic origin. When we talk about magmatic origin, there is already a magma flow within the volcano itself. There is an increase in the pressure of magma. Next is your level 3, increasing tendency towards the eruption. So there is relatively high unrest. So magma is close to the crater. So usually, there is already what we call as the crater glow. Nagasigrab-sigrab na ang sa baba sang imo volcano. And then, for level 4, we have your hazardous eruption imminent. So, there is already intense unrest. Kumbaga, nagaluad-luan, naging si magma. And then, of course, we have your level 5, which is your hazardous eruption. Nagalupok-lupok, naging siya. May ginaluad, naging siya adamo. So this can expel your gases, your lahars, or the other forms of your volcanic hazards. Okay? So try to study your volcanic alert levels as well. Clear? Now, let me present to you a video presentation on the signs of an impending volcanic eruption. Paano ta mabalaan kung manuglupok ang isa ka bulkan? And then what are the certain measures that we must do for us to survive or to mitigate or to survive or to move away from the effects of the volcanic eruption? So here is a short video presentation. I hope you'll have fun learning with this video presentation as well.
Welcome to Mobile Legends!
Several changes in the behavior of volcanoes can signify that it is about to erupt. If there are indications of volcanic unrest, then monitoring is heightened to gather evidence of possible eruption. These are needed in disseminating early warning precautions. Here are the signs of an impending volcanic eruption. There are changes in geochemical and geophysical characteristics of a volcano, such as increase in volume and temperature of gas composition, and increase in the frequency of volcanic quakes. The color of steam emission changes from white to gray due to ash. Also, the crater glows due to the presence of magma at or near the crater. Deformation of the ground because magma intrusion and appearance of fractures on the sides of volcano can be observed. There is also an increased frequency of landslides and rock falls from cliffs. Moreover, increase in the extent of drying up of vegetation around the volcano's upper slopes becomes noticeable. Continuous increase in the temperature of hot springs, wells, and lakes on craters near the volcano. There is also noticeable variation in the chemical content of springs and crater lakes around the volcano. Before the occurrence of a volcanic eruption, know the signs of an impending eruption. Second, know the community's safety plans. Always monitor the volcano updates and watch out for advisories and warnings. Know the location of the evacuation site and the fastest and safest way to go there. Prepare your family's go bag containing items needed for survival. During a volcanic eruption, stay away from danger zones. When notified, immediately evacuate to safer grounds. Assist in evacuating children, pregnant women, PWDs, and older people. Cover your mouth with wet cloth and wear protective goggles. Keep your pets in their shelter or inside to avoid them from inhaling ash. Stay away from rivers and streams for possible lahar flow. After the eruption, remain alert and be cautious. Leave the evacuation area only when authorities say it is safe. Wear masks when cleaning. Scrape the accumulated ash in roofs to prevent collapse. Shake loose ash from plants before watering.
Okay, so those are the signs of an impending eruption and the measures to do before, during, and after your volcanic eruption. So after this video presentation, I will also post on our DRR channel the link to this video presentation so that you will have an insight on what to include in your creative leaflet project for your performance task for the week. Okay, so now let's have a synthesis. Ayan. So, we will have the synthesis na lang next week. Before we introduce to you another topic, we will have the synthesis in which napamangkuton mo certain questions related to volcanic eruption before we proceed with your typhoons and hydrometeorological hazards. So that is why listen very carefully on this video presentation na ginhatag ko sa inyo because I will be asking questions when I go back for a live synchronous class. Okay? Sige. Now, instead of having the synthesis for this pre-recorded session, I will be presenting to you first your task for the week. Ayan. Okay, so task for the week. So you will be answering questions on your Module 2 L1 Acquire and Module 2 L1 Apply. Okay? So first, you will answer Module 2 L1 Acquire your measures to deal with the eruption. So this will be through Microsoft Forms. So after this class, you proceed with the Module 2 Lesson 1 Acquire. You have to answer questions related to volcanic eruption. Okay? Next, after this one, I want you to meet with your B groups and then make your first minor PT for the second quarter, which is your Module 2 L2 Apply. Ayan. So, all you have to do is to create an leaflet or a brochure in which it will tackle concepts on your volcano hazards. So, sir, paano na siya namon himuon? So, as you can see on the picture, amo na siyang inyo himuon. Leaflet, do brochure. Diba? So, sa brochure nga ina, may tatlo ka folds or there are 3 folds of your feature for the brochure. So, what will be the content, sir, or the rubric or the mechanics in creating your volcano hazard infographic or your leaflet? So, the leaflet size or the brochure size is 11 by 8.5 inches. Similar on the picture itself. Okay? Amo gina siyang inyo himuon. Next, only have the front view with 3-fold design. Sir, back to back? Hindi. For front view only. Okay? Again, front view only. May mag-back to back da sa akon kay ma-back to back again. Okay? Kinkapakapuyan mo pa self mo. So, 3 folds in the front view only ang required ko sa inyo. Para hindi man ka mo mabudla yan. Okay? Next. It must contain information regarding the volcanic eruptions and measures to do before, during, and after the volcanic eruption itself. So, ano na nakabutang dira? Again, the measures. Ano himuon nila maglupok or before, during, and after maglupok ang bulkan? And the challenge for you in this activity is must be in Hiligaynon, naka-Ilonggo, native dialect. Remember, we have our very own Mount Canlaon, which is an example of an active volcano. And this project is for us to educate the people in Negros Occidental primarily to survive the possible effects of a volcanic eruption. So that is why I require you to have an infographic or a leaflet or a brochure in a Hiligaynon language. So, kinanlan tagid magtuon Ilonggo kay para kabalo kita sang atong ihambal sa komunidad. Okay? And then, of course, your rubric for this activity will be posted on your L1 Apply. Okay? And lastly, the deadline for this one is on November 7, 2020. That will be next week. Okay? So don't worry because I have set the deadline November 7, 12 midnight. Midnight kay para kapasa pa kamo gabi. Ako na lang ang ma-adjust sa atong schedule kay para hindi man siya pressured gid ka tama sa inyo. Okay? So again, all you have to do is to answer 2 of the 4 A's, which is acquire and apply. Because I have noticed that some of you are still answering the activate and analyze, please do not answer that one. Just submit or turn in that information because we already have done that one for the live or the pre-recorded session for this one. Okay? So that will be all for now for the volcano hazards. If you have questions, please message me on the Teams. And then if you have inquiries regarding the project or this performance task, please meet me or rather message me on the Microsoft Teams para mabuligan ta kamo kung paano na siya ma-plus target man. Okay? So, other additional information or other instructions will be given to you on your asynchronous activities on Friday to Monday. Okay? So, hindi lang ni amo ang instruction ko. So, possible nga may idugang pa ko sa asynchronous schedule nato. Okay? So, I hope that this pre-recorded live session will help you somehow with the organization of your time schedule. So, bulig ko na ni sa inyo nga gin-record ko na lang siya kay para anytime malantaw nyo ni siya nga video presentation. And then kay para maubra nyo man ang inyong nga task or assignment sa other nga subjects. Okay? So, I hope I was able to help you with that. And then, I am excited and I am excited to meet you on our next synchronous class for this schedule. Okay? So, let us meet by next week. And I hope you will do your activities well with your B groups. By the way, this activity is for B groups. I forgot to include that in the instruction. So, let me, for a while, let me undo some of the instructions. Okay. For a while, Okay. So, this is the final instruction for your asynchronous task. Ayan. Done with B group siya. Okay? So, you may take a screenshot of this activity or the instructions on this one and then meet with your B groups after this. Okay? So, that will be all for now. Thank you so much, grade 12. Thank you for your cooperation despite na hindi siya live class na matigid ka mo. Okay? So, thank you so much and see you on our next synchronous class. Bye! Thank you!